There is a reason Justified text looks so professional. It is clean, symmetrical, and gives your pages defined margins, fitting more content into less space. The main challenge is controlling the gaps between words to eliminate white rivers and keep your line spacing smooth. Welcome everyone, I am your instructor Elias Sarantopoulos. Understanding Justified paragraph text. Working inside Affinity Layout and the exercise file, I double-click on the body text paragraph style, and inside the text style editor, for the paragraph and spacing and for the alignment, first I'm going to choose Justified All. Now that forces the very last line, which might only have 2 or 3 words, like in this case or in this case, to stretch across the entire column, leaving huge gaps between words, which means that it's not going to work. What is going to work is the Justified last line left, which is the industry standard choice for body paragraphs in books, magazines, and multi-column publications, preventing severe gaps on short lines. So in this case, go ahead and click OK. Now, in Justified text, line length is everything. The more words you have on a line, the easier it is to balance spacing and give you cleaner results. We are aiming for 50 to 60 characters per line. So under the View menu, Show, I'm going to bring up the word count. Then I will triple-click to select one line of text. And in the status bar at the bottom of the workspace, we can see that we have 63 characters, which is best for a reading experience. The next topic I want to talk about is the optical margin alignment, which shifts hyphens and punctuation beyond the right margin. So under the View menu, I'm going to disable the preview mode, and I'm also going to zoom in a bit so we can see the changes taking place. Back on the body text, we're going to click on the optical alignment, and for the type, in the drop-down menu, we're going to choose Manual. Now, Affinity uses percentage values instead of point size like Adobe InDesign. 100% means punctuation, quotes, and commas hang completely outside the edge of the text box. Left 100 shifts punctuation fully outside the left margin. Right 100 shifts punctuation fully outside the right margin, as we can see right here and right there. As for the last group, that contains quotes, apostrophes, periods, and commas. So, in Affinity Layout, setting type to manual does a great job activating hang punctuation and optical margin. The next topic, an important one, is all about the hyphenation settings. Hyphenation is used to divide words between 2 lines of text and controls how many letters occur before or after hyphen. So the first thing we're going to do is check Use Auto Hyphenation. Without checking this box, none of the rules below will take effect on your paragraph. That allows Affinity Layout to automatically find the right places to break a word. So first up, we have the minimum score. That controls how strict Affinity is with hyphens. I'm going to set this one to 0 to turn off any strictness, giving Affinity permission to break words wherever the language dictionary allows, so the Justified text stays smooth and river-free. Next, we have the minimum word length. That is the total number of letters a word must have before it's allowed to break. I'm going to set this one to words with at least 6 characters to be considered for hyphenation. The minimum prefix, that sets the smallest number of letters allowed on the first line before the hyphen. I'm going to set mine to at least 3 letters to remain on the first line before the hyphen. For the minimum suffix, that sets the minimum number of letters that must carry over to the next line after the hyphen. I'm going to set mine to at least 3 letters to carry over to the next line after the hyphen. For the maximum consecutive hyphens, that controls how many lines in a row can end with a hyphen. I'm going to set this one to 2, which will allow Affinity to hyphenate 2 lines back to back when its spacing is tight, but it stops a third hyphen from happening. The hyphenation zone restricts where the words can hyphenate. I'm going to set that to 0 points to remove the restriction completely, allowing Affinity to hyphenate wherever is necessary to keep the justified spacing smooth. The capital zone, no need to have any hyphens where words are all in caps, so no change for that. The paragraph end zone, that prevents Affinity from splitting a word at the end of a paragraph. So the last line does not end with a hyphen. Also, no change to that. And lastly, we have the column end zone. That prevents a word from splitting at the absolute bottom of a column, stopping half a word from setting on one page and the other half on the next page. Also no change, so I'll go ahead and then I click OK. The last topic, and to eliminate any visual rivers, is all about justification settings. Justification controls how space is distributed between words and letters across a line. We'll begin with the word spacing. Word spacing is the amount of empty space that separates one word from the next in a line of text. The minimum word spacing sets how tightly words can squeeze together on a line. I'm going to set mine to 85%, which means we can shrink the space between words up to 15%. The maximum word spacing, that sets the largest allowed gap between words. I'm going to set mine to 125%, which means we can expand the space between words up to 25%. For the desired, I'm going to set this one to 100% because we're going to use the font's natural space exactly as the font designer has intended to. Next, we have letter spacing. That adjusts the space between every single character. The minimum letter spacing tightens character spacing to fit extra words and fix awkward line breaks. I'm going to set mine to -5%, which means Affinity will tighten the space between letters up to -5%. The maximum letter spacing, that expands character gaps evenly to fill short lines without creating word gaps. I'm going to set mine to 5%, which will allow Affinity to loosen the space between letters up to 5%. For the desired fields, the standard practice is to trust the font designer that has already calculated the ideal spacing for the typeface. So I'm going to leave this with no change. With these settings, visual reverse instantly disappears, as you can see on the right side, because the letters squeeze together just enough for the next words. This is personal preference and what suits the Data Pro typeface. When these settings are applied to a large amount of reading text, they can have a big impact.